Okay, now for Chatush Padasana, you certainly can take a blanket, fold it in half, and put it underneath your shoulders. What I'm going to do is take the blanket and place it underneath my shoulders, neck and head, okay? And we're using the belt. One moment, got my belt. So I'm going to make a loop with the belt, and I'm not going to grab and squeeze, I'm going to hook with my fingers. So just as in Tadasana, I'm taking the upper arms outside the chest, not onto and in front of the chest, but outside and backward from the chest. And I'm taking my outer ankles in line with my outer hips. Okay, now from here, again, I want to turn the elbows, the back of the elbows down to face the floor, and the crease of the elbows to face the ceiling, and I'm moving the back of the elbows into the front of the elbows. So the backs of the upper arms from the shoulders to the elbows are pressing down. Just let go of your belt for a second, bend your elbows. Remember when you were holding that belt back when we were practicing Salamba Sarvangasana, I said the upper arms, the back of the upper arms have to press down into the floor and forward towards the elbows. Often my teacher will say the backs of the upper arms are like 2 feet. So don't you press your feet down, don't they hold the floor evenly in Tadasana? See if you can have that evenness in the mind of the backs of your upper arms now. Okay, and then if when you extend your elbows, the top of the back of your upper arms and reach for the belt, come off the floor, just keep the elbows bent. Don't straighten the arms and hold the belt. Okay, that's a moving along stage, and my fingers are past the buttocks and they're on their way now to the ankles, okay? Now turn the backs of the thighs out and away from each other. Move the top of the upper arms away from the outer sides of the chest, and from here you're going to pull back on the belt with your fingers and lift the outer knees, outer thighs, outer hips, outer waist, outer side ribs, and the back of the armpits all the way up and away from the floor, and then move the buttocks towards the back of the knees and the back ribs towards the wall that your chest is facing. So I'm not letting the front of the chest move to the back of the chest or the rib cage. I'm moving the back ribs at the bottom, middle, and top in the direction of my face. So my chest is coming towards my chin, not my chin coming towards my chest. And then to come down, I move the buttocks and the back ribs away from each other and lower my the back of my trunk down towards the floor, and let the spinal muscle spread laterally out to the side. So now, so I'm going to repeat this again, and now what I'm going to do is tighten the belt. So, and we're going to do, you could do that over and over again until you're almost holding your feet. Don't start with your heels closer to your buttocks. Start with your shins perpendicular to the floor, so you have some room to move. You have some room to move. Roll the shoulders back, move the outer shoulder blades in, but resist the inner shoulder blades away from each other. Outer shoulder blades to the inner shoulder blades, but the inner shoulder blades away from each other. Okay? And then from here, you're coming up again. And think now how the front of the heels press down, move the calves towards them, and lift the backs of the thighs, especially those inner back thighs. They have to move away from the knees and towards the pubis, and then out towards the walls on either side of you. So just like the outer shoulder blades move to the inner shoulder blades, and the inner shoulder blades resist away from each other, the backs of the thighs are moving out away from each other, but the outer hips have to move towards the inner hips. Okay, and then with an exhalation, you're lowering back down. Now, for this last one, see if you can move the buttocks and the back ribs away from each other and then lift the tailbone, okay? So don't lift the tailbone first. You have to create space in the inner upper thighs and compactness in the outer hips before you move the tailbone in. Otherwise, can be harmful to the SI area and the lower spine and the organs in the pelvic and the abdominal region, as well as remember, go back to the earlier part of the sequence where the upper abdomen was moving away from the bottom ribs and the diaphragm was spreading. And don't tilt the pelvis backward to come up. Elevate it, uplift it. Elevate it and uplift it. And if you're able to now, bring the sides of the trunk up towards the head so that the arms reach the feet. And if you're able to, you can place your, if you're not holding the, if you're able to now, you can take your hands under your heels and press down on them. Or you can hold the sides of the mat. Also, if you don't have a belt, another option is to hold the sides of the mat, but we're not holding the heels for today because the grabbing action, the squeezing of the hands sometimes dilutes or prevents one from performing the right actions, fulfilling the Dharma and the chest. So the chest has to be wide open and from the inside, outside. And then the sides of the trunk, which are already extended, get lifted up. Buttocks and the back ribs moving away from each other. The buttocks and the back ribs moving away from each other. And then you move the tailbone in. Okay. So now after Chatush Padasana with the feet on the floor, the same actions apply with the feet on the wall. And you can have a blanket under the shoulders. The blanket has to be closer to the wall. So when you first come in, basically what you're going to be away from the wall with the shoulders is like a shin's distance. So that's how I'm measuring where the top of the blanket should be. But when you first come in, your shoulders won't be on the blanket and you have to walk in towards the wall. So to start with, my shoulders are further away from the wall than the blanket. Do you see that? Okay, now I'm not just gonna press my feet into the wall because that's gonna throw me back over the blanket. I'm gonna press into the wall and pull down because that's going to help me lift up. And also I'm going to wiggle in so I get onto the top of the shoulders. Okay, and now from here I have these bent elbows. I'm pressing the triceps down into the floor and backward towards the wall behind me, and then I can use my hands to find the part of my back ribs with the part of the hand that's between the thumb and the index fingers that needs to lift up and move from the back to the front, and then the tips of the fingers can move the thoracic spine in. And the palms of the hands feel which set of ribs, for me it's the left, want to drop into the hand, and those have to lift up and away from the floor. You can eventually practice Ekapada, one leg in Sarvangasana here, how to turn the back of the thigh out, front thigh in, move the buttock away from the wall and up towards the heel, one at a time, and then eventually both together.